Welcome to the Fermented Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Anna, and on this channel I'm sharing our journey of learning how to turn our home into a homestead. Recently I had this company, A School, reach out to me and ask me if I wanted to try out one of their products. And after looking through them, I was pretty excited to come across this hand mixer. The reason for that, we are in the period of transition. I'm sure you can probably tell if you follow me for very long, this is a new kitchen. We are getting ready, well, we moved, but we're getting ready to, this is just temporary housing. But in the process of moving, I mistakenly actually packed I have a KitchenAid hand blender, and I've been really missing it. So I was kind of excited to come across this one because I really want to make mayonnaise. So as soon as I saw this one, I was like, ooh, I know exactly what I'm making with this video. So here we are. We're gonna be making some fermented mayonnaise, and I'm gonna show you a unique way that you can use this to make mayonnaise in like a minute. I'm adapting a recipe from Farm Steady, and it calls for 2 egg yolks, half a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of whey, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, half a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and 1 1/4 cups of high quality oil. So this one calls to cook it very differently than, or not cook it, but it calls to make it in a different way. We are gonna actually adapt it and use it with this A School hand blender. If you do not already have a hand blender or a hand mixer, whatever you wanna call it, you wanna get one. This stuff is amazing. I have missed it so much. I can't even stand it. You can use it to mix up soups, you can use it to make mayonnaise, sauces, you can blend up your coffee with it. No joke, like they have all kinds of attachments in here. Let's go ahead, I'm gonna show you these attachments. Yes, I have already used it. It comes with this handy little cup that you can use. It has high walls. If you'd like to, you can always use just a tall mason jar. That's what we're gonna use to store it. But you can also just use like one of these. This is a fantastic, this is a 1.5 quart mason jar. Those things are fantastic for this sort of thing. So it comes with the attachment. It comes with like the motor, and this is kind of the main thing that pretty much everything runs off of. And what I really like about this one versus the KitchenAid one I think had like 2, forgive me if I'm mistaken, but the one that I had, I think had like 2 settings. It was like high and low. This one has just a regular button, but it has 12 settings. It has a dial on it that actually has 12 different settings on it. So I was really excited to find that you can kind of pick your speed a little bit better. But there's also a turbo button, so if you just want to all of a sudden up to 12, you can just hit the turbo button. It does give a caution on the side to not hold it in the turbo mode for more than 60 seconds. So anyways, this one comes with this attachment. It's just your standard blade. And one thing that I like about this one that I've discovered is it has a shape that is much more friendly to cleaning off with a spatula. I know that might seem like a small thing, but it's really annoying. If you're mixing up a batch of mayonnaise, you're using a 1.5 cups or a 1.25 cups of avocado oil. This stuff is not cheap. I don't want to leave it hanging on the wand. So I like the shape of this one. It's much easier to clean off than my old KitchenAid one. This thing also comes with a food processor attachment, okay? No joke. Like there's a food processor in here. Blade and everything. Which is gonna be super handy for me because all of my appliances are packed. So if you are limited on space, this is a perfect option for you guys, okay? Perfect option. And all you do is hook the motor directly up to it. It's not plugged in, and then it just becomes a food processor. You can like chop up onions or something like that. If you don't want to, maybe you do have the space, but you don't want to bust out your whole food processor to chop up some onions or make some salsa. Like this is a perfect option for that. You can use it for a whisk, right? And you can whisk up your eggs or anything like that. It also comes with a milk frother. So you can plug it in, you can froth. If you're making like keto coffee or anything like that, if you're making like, MCT oil, butter, egg yolks, anything like that, if you're using that in your coffee, you can use this and just put it in there and buzz it up really quick and make yourself some tasty coffee. So I think we got through all of our attachments on here, and I'm really excited about this. I did already make a batch of this mayonnaise. I wanted to make sure that since we are in this period of transition, I have very little time to myself. I wanted to make sure that while the camera's rolling, I could just do the whole video from start to finish. And of course, I cannot make this mayonnaise without showing you the end result. So I already made a batch of this mayonnaise. So I already know how fantastic this mixer is. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on it. I'm gonna show you. So you take your egg yolk. You're gonna take 2 egg yolks. Let me just break the egg yolks in here. Okay. So we have our 2 egg yolks, and we need to add 2 tablespoons of whey. No way. We have our 2 egg yolks in here, and to that we're gonna add in 2 tablespoons of, the recipe calls for whey, but I want a little more flavor. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add in the brine from this, pardon me, pardon the noise. I'm gonna add in the brine from this fermented hot pickles. 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. You can use fresh. This is just what we have. Yeah, I totally just did that. Okay. So then we're gonna add in, it says a half of a teaspoon, a half of a tablespoon? It says a half of a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. I'm gonna add, I don't have Dijon, so I'm just gonna use that much mustard. So then we're gonna add in 1 1/4 of a cup of, I'm using avocado oil because I think it's the best. It has the least competing flavors, and I just love the taste of avocado oil mayonnaise. So then we're gonna add it in here. I like to put the wand mixer in here first because you kind of want the oil to set on top. So I'm just gonna pour it in here kind of gently, not as gently as you would need to if you're pouring this into a food processor. There we go. Okay. So then I'm gonna let it settle for half a second, and then we're gonna turn it up to 12. Actually, I think I'm gonna start at 6. I'm gonna start at half. So we're gonna turn it up to 6 and let it go. You'll start to see the mayonnaise kind of creep up the side here, and that's when you're gonna crank the heat, crank the speed, and kind of start to bring the wand up the sides of the jar a little bit. How you make mayonnaise. It's really that simple. I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about with the little, there we go. It just comes right off. I really like the shape of this one. And I'm not saying all other ones are terribly shaped. I'm just saying the one that I had was a terrible shape. I didn't like it at all. It was always very difficult to scrape out enough. And you're never gonna get it all, but you can at least get your money's worth. Best you can. See, there can't even be more than 1/8 of a teaspoon left on there. So that's one of the bonuses to this. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix in our salt. The only reason that I waited to mix the salt, the first time that I made one of these recipes, it called to wait until the end to add the mayonnaise in, or to add the salt in until after it was mixed. So that's just what I've always done. It's not to say you have to, it's just what the first mayonnaise recipe I ever came across told me to do, so that's what I've done ever since. Okay. And then we're just gonna, a knife tends to not get everywhere. It's all mixed, and it will solidify more in the fridge, as you'll see here in just a minute. This is a jar that I like to leave it to ferment in. So we're just gonna pour the mayonnaise out of the plastic. You don't wanna ferment in plastic unless you have no other option. Or if your only option is plastic or metal, then you can ferment in plastic. But it's fine to like mix ferments and things like that, but you don't wanna have anything actively fermenting or fermented in here. Go ahead and wipe the rim here, just cause. And then for this, we're just gonna use one of our spent 4 jars canning lids. Put it on there, and we're gonna leave this on the counter for 8 hours. Sure, you can do a little more. I know you can do a little less because we accidentally did that and it actually fermented for about, I think about 12 hours. Yeah, it was about 12 hours. So we're just gonna leave this to ferment. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna test the other mayonnaise, and I'm gonna make an awesome recipe for you guys that I'm kind of gonna make up. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so here is the mayonnaise that we made a couple days ago. It fermented on the counter for about 12 hours, and then I popped it in the fridge yesterday morning, and that's where it's been ever since. This is gonna be good. Okay, so we're just gonna give it a teeny little taste test, and then we're gonna make a recipe with it. Okay, so you got the little, wow. It's like, it's almost effervescent, but not in like a weird way. It's really hard to explain. Like, I'm not joking. You could probably eat this with your spoon and be very happy. This is honestly the best mayonnaise I've ever had. And I've made a lot of homemade mayonnaise. This is not my usual recipe. This is my first time trying it because I wanted to try something that was lacto-fermented, had more probiotics in it, and it is phenomenal. It is absolutely, you could just eat it. You truly could just eat it. If you like creamy textured things, you would love this. My husband would not love this. He does not like mayonnaise, so I'm not even gonna bother with the taste test with him because he won't like it, but he just doesn't like mayonnaise at all. I already have some eggs going. I already hard boiled these. All I did with these is I put these eggs in the bottom of the pot, filled it up with cold water, I covered it by at least 1 inch, and then I brought it up to a boil, I put a lid on it, brought it up to a boil, cut the heat, and let it set in the hot water for 20 minutes. And that's basically how I always cook my hard-boiled eggs. It's just the easiest hands-off thing. I don't have to worry about the eggs cracking. It's just, it works the best for me. Sometimes they crack, but not very often. Like I said, we are in a transition period. Don't judge me for the plastic. It's what I have. So that's what we're gonna use. We have the dishes that came in the Airbnb, basically. So what we're gonna do is just crack all of these. We're making an egg salad, and it's gonna be an egg salad with fermented mayonnaise, and we're gonna add even more fermented foods to it. So this should be a super low carb probiotic boost that you guys can easily take to work, throw it in your fridge, and it is delicious cold. All right, so now that we got all of our eggs chopped up, we're gonna do a we're gonna make do. Let's see what we have in our cupboards that can be like a potato masher. If you have a potato masher or one of those dough, I don't know what you call them, butter cutter things for doughs, it's a great place to put it, but this actually isn't too bad. Okay, it's just a whisk. Oh, I'm glad I thought of this. This isn't too bad at all. It's way better than I thought it was gonna be. That's all mixed up. So if you don't have one of those, a whisk works great. I never would have guessed that. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and we need to cut up some of our pickle. So we're gonna add in a bunch of sauerkraut. And this is definitely, I'd say at least 2 servings, if not like 3 or 4, depending on how many eggs you want. So you're just gonna kind of scale this recipe based on whatever you want. I mean, that's the great thing about cooking at home. Scale it to whatever you would like. 60 grams of mayonnaise. I'm gonna bring you up here a little bit so you can see my face. So you can see that's plenty. And that's one of the nice things about using the ferments in here. It gives it some moisture, so it makes it so you don't have to use quite as much mayonnaise. Which the mayonnaise is delicious, but you know, you don't want it to be too high calorie, unless you do, in which case go for it. So let's go ahead, Give ourselves a serving. You can put this on a sandwich. If you eat bread, you can totally put this on a sandwich. I don't. So we're just gonna go ahead and gobble this up. Salt. Pepper. A little bit of pepper. I think I'm gonna add a little bit of heat to this as well. I'm adding, this is just chipotle powder. Just like that much. I think I need a spoon for this. That did it. That definitely did it. This is fantastic. This recipe is so delicious, is so versatile. You can do whatever you would like with it. So some of the basics, I just used one moderate sized pickle. It wasn't giant, it wasn't tiny. And then I used 60 grams of our homemade fermented mayonnaise, and I used 8 eggs. And then I added in probably about a half of a cup. I'd say about a half of a cup. I think a half cup might be on the high side, but roughly a half of a cup of sauerkraut to this. And then I added in, let's call it a half of a teaspoon of salt, maybe an 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper, and then probably a teaspoon of the chipotle powder. And that's if I were to add those to the whole batch. So I'm just giving some rough guesstimated numbers on those things. You can totally add whatever spices that you want. I would definitely, I'm probably gonna add another pickle to this, and I'm probably gonna add a little bit more sauerkraut because I really want that kind of fermented tang to it. I've had a chance to kind of play with this and see kind of what it's capable of. I have not had a chance to check out the, I've not had a chance to check out this attachment, but that is definitely going to be up on my list. I may be doing another video or two featuring this. We'll kind of see how that goes. It depends on what recipes I am going to be making. So if I'm making a recipe using any of these tools, I'll be sure to kind of bring you guys along for that one too. So look out for that one in the future. But this is definitely a pretty awesome tool to have. It's definitely, if I'm being totally honest, I think I like it better than my KitchenAid. The KitchenAid, like I said, it had limitations on speed and it didn't have all these cool attachments with it. I definitely like the frother. I really, really like that option. And like I said, I like the shape of the actual the blender tool that goes along with it. And I like the idea of this. I think it's really neat, especially right now with us being in our period of transition, or if you are somebody who lives in a small space and just doesn't have the room for all a bunch of different tools. This is something that is kind of like one of those all-in-one kitchen processing type tools that I think would really benefit you, especially if you're interested in like I said earlier, if you guys are interested in any kind of nourishing tradition style or just traditional eating, a wand blender is a wand mixer, whatever you want to call it, a hand blender, a stick blender. There's all kinds of terms for it. It is just unspeakably valuable. I have definitely missed it, and like I said, I'm really glad that they reached out to me with this as an option of something that I could try out for you guys, because it is something that I definitely needed in my temporary kitchen, and in my permanent kitchen. This thing definitely is home in my permanent kitchen as well. If you guys are interested in checking this out, there's gonna be a link down below with a discount code for you as well. So make sure you check that out. It is a screaming awesome, amazing deal. And you can also support the channel at the same time. It is an affiliate link, so it will be beneficial to me as well. But that's just a way that you guys can, if you're interested in it, you can definitely help out the channel. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video on this awesome new product, as well as learning an awesome new recipe that you guys can try out if you guys are looking for some low carb recipes and just some great ways that you can use eggs and some great ways that you can get some extra fermented foods into your diet. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up. It helps with all the googly algorithmic things. And if you guys are new around here, if you guys are interested in food preservation, canning, freezing, dehydrating, fermenting, as well as ways that you can use all of these products in your kitchen, make sure that you hit this subscribe button right here. This is where all the fun happens. Make sure you check that one out. Up here is a video that Mr. Google Pants says that you're going to enjoy. Over here is going to be a video where I made some deviled eggs out of pantry items alone. And then up here is going to be my pantry cooking playlist. Make sure you check that one out. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.